Yo, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Sam from Team Sam Rakes here. Happy Tuesday! Guys, today is Tuesday. I'm coming at you with a very awesome DESPIA deck profile post Dawn of Majesty. A lot of you guys have been asking and requesting for this deck profile. I'm sorry I'm a little bit late, okay guys? I've been practicing this deck for almost a month. I believe this is the best variant if you guys just want to play strictly DESPIA with a bunch of really awesome fusion monsters. So give this deck a try. I think it's really awesome. I'll showcase you guys some combos, some test hands that you guys can do with this deck right here. And guys, I'm thinking of play testing with these decks in a live duel. So just let me know in the comments below what are your thoughts about that type of content. And if you guys haven't watched the first episode of Duel Night, what are you doing? Watch Duel Night today, link down below. Alright guys, don't waste any more time. Without further ado, don't forget to without further ado, let's start with the brand new DESPIA deck profile for the 2021 format. Alright guys, let's begin. Let's dive straight into the deck profile. So first and foremost, the best monster in the deck, hands down, it's triple copies of Valubert, the Jester of DESPIA. This card is absolutely amazing. One of the best floaters in the deck, and also at the same time, one of the best starter cards for the entire deck. So this card is normal summon or special summon. You basically get to search a branded spell and trap card directly from your deck to your hand. If a face-up fusion monster control is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of your opponent's card effect, this is when the floating and the grind game matchup comes in play when it comes to DESPIA, which is what the deck is great at, is to be able to outgrind your opponent. So while this card is in your grave, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls. Special summon this card, and if you do, negate the targeted monster effects until the end of this turn. So if a fusion dies, you can activate this card's effect, target monster on your opponent's side of the field, negate its effect, and then special summon this card from your graveyard. And you guys all know what happens. This card comes back to your side of the field and it negates your opponent's monster effects at the same time. So the grind game that this deck offers is absolutely incredible. So to start off, Valubert, Jester, DESPIA. The best comparison to compare this card to is Alistair the Invoker. This card is so good. So triple copies of Valubert, aka Stratos. Next, you're going to play 2 copies of Dramaturge of DESPIA. This card is incredible as well. If a fusion synchro exceeds monster link summon is special summon, except during the damage step, you can target one effect monster in the field, negate its effect until the end of this turn. So you're able to bring back a fusion monster during your opponent's turn. This card is essentially a quick impermanence on your opponent's side of the field. Also at the same time, if your opponent were a fusion summon, synchro summon, exceed summon, link summon, you can just negate that monster's effect by triggering off your Dramaturge or DESPIA's ability. If this card is in your hand or field, is used as a material for a fusion summon and sent to the graveyard or banish, you can special summon this card. You can only use each effect of Dramaturge of DESPIA per turn. So you're going to be using the theater to fuse this card from your hand or field to bring out your big DESPIA monsters, and then once you do that, you basically get to bring back this card from your graveyard, and it's a 3000 beat stick, which is absolutely incredible. So Dramaturge is very nice. Next off, triple copies of DESPIA and Tragedy. This card is another search card for the deck. What it does is that if this card is sent to the graveyard or banished by a card effect, you can add one DESPIA monster directly from your deck to your hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard and target one of your branded spell trap in your grave and set it to your field, which is absolutely incredible. So it's able to reset cards like your branded opening or your branded field spell, which is incredible. But nonetheless, using this card off with branded opening is insane because Tragedy is able to search either your Valubert or your Dramaturge directly from your deck to your hand, which is absolutely incredible. Next off, of course, the 1 copy of Fallen Albaz. 1 copy of the name. This card is essentially a super poly. You can just fuse with your opponent's monster, which is absolutely insane. Really nice. And of course, the other 3 copies are your Fallen Albaz, which is your Albion, their Shrouded Dragon. So what this card does is that it's treated as a Fallen Albaz while it's in the graveyard or on the field. And you can send one Fallen Albaz or one branded spell trap card from your hand or deck to the graveyard. Apply the following effect based on where you sent it from. So if you send a Fallen Albaz or a branded spell trap card from your hand to the graveyard, you basically get a special on this card, which is incredible. If you send it from your deck to the graveyard, you basically get to place this card to the bottom of your deck and then draw 1 card, which is really good. The reason why this card is so good is because it's able to trigger off your branded spell trap cards, because once those branded cards are in the graveyard to activate the effect of Fallen Albaz, you basically get to reset them during the end phase, which is incredible. And Albion is considered as Fallen Albaz while in the grave, so you're able to trigger off the spell or trap card effects in your graveyard to just reset themselves, right? So Albion, the Shrouded Dragon, is just absolutely amazing for that, which is really good. Next off for your Dogmatica lineup, of course, 1 Fleur-de-Lis. Really awesome to gate 1 Dogmatica Maximus. Just gotta pray that you don't face against Drytron once you trigger off Maximus. But nonetheless, like Maximus, you get out Winda, and most decks can't deal window, right? So Maximus is just really good, like an auto game card. And of course, Dogmatica, Ecclesia, the Virtuous, one of the best starter cards in the entire deck, obviously, right? So Dogmatica works really well with the Fallen Albas archetype, works really well with the Branded archetype. Definitely recommend you guys playing these cards in the deck 100,000%. This is what gives the deck a little bit of competitive edge. Getting access to Winda and getting access into your punishment is just absolutely incredible. So, you know, just one of each, because the Deer Servant can always search. Next off, your hand traps, triple copies of Gamma. Gamma is really great, obviously, and the one side frame driver. And the reason why Gamma is really good in this deck is because Branded Opening. Of course, you discard a card if they ash you or if they hand trap you, Gamma, and then it's pretty much game from there on end. So Gamma is really great. And it's also a light for your Proskinion as well, which is really good. And last but not least, 2 Ash Blossoms. I was gonna play a third one to make it like a 41 card deck, but I have OCD. I like straight 40, and I feel like it's just like the best ratio for the hand traps in my opinion. If you guys want to play an additional Ash to make your deck a 41 card deck, you guys can go ahead and do so. I just like to make my deck complete 40 for consistency of the entire deck, right? Let's go off to the spells. Of course, triple copies of DESPIA, Theater of the Branded. This card's insane. So it's a polymerization, and it's a floater built in. So during your main phase, you can fusion summon 1 level 8 or higher fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. So polymerization. If a face-up non-fairy fusion monster you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect or destroyed by battle, you can target 1 level 8 or higher fusion monster in your graveyard, special summon it. So this card is an insane floater for the deck. So whenever your Despia monster were to die or sent to the graveyard or leaves the field because their opponent's card, don't forget to trigger off this card's ability to bring back your bigger fusion monsters that's in your grave, and Alibur searches this card directly from your deck to your hand, right? Which is really good. Of course, you're playing 4 field spells, which is Terraforming, which is really nice. Branded Opening, this card is insane. Like, opening up with Branded Opening and, what's it called, Tragedy, is insane. So what it does is that you can discard 1 card and take 1 Despia monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it in defense position. Also, for the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monster from your extra deck except for fusion monsters, and of course your entire deck is all fusion anyways. If a fusion monsters you control would be destroyed by a card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. So it's like kind of like a Return of the Dragon Lords while in the graveyard to just protect your fusion monsters. Also at the same time, it's kind of like a mini tour guide for the deck, and especially discarding Tragedy just gives you so much advantage in my opinion, right? So Opening is like the best card in the deck, hands down. Next, Branded in White. This card's really good. Albion sends this card to the graveyard while it's in the grave. It's treated as Fallen Albas, so you can able to set this card during the end phase, which is really, really nice. This card is really nice, being able to bring out, of course, your Albion. The Branded Dragon is just insane, and this card is like one of the best extenders in the entire deck, right? So it's a polymerization, and you can also banish monsters from your graveyard as materials if you use Fallen Albas, which your Albion will be considered as Fallen Albas while in the graveyard, which is really good. And yeah, this card is just absolutely ridiculous. This card is just a really good card to send off your Albion while in the graveyard, which is really nice. And it's like one of the best extenders and the best follow-up cards on the following turn. So, and getting access to the field spell in this, you basically have 2 fusion summons on the exact same turn. And if you fusion into the Albion, the Branded Dragon, you basically have another fusion monster you get access to, which is really good. So Branded White is really nice. Next off, triple copies of the Deer Servant. Opening up with the Deer Servant with any hand is like a god hand. This card is just so good. Getting access to your Apcolone is just insane, and Windows just wins games. Next, of course, triple copies of Super Polymerization. I'm looking for a third one, man, but it's kind of expensive right now, so, you know, just waiting for the price to go down a little bit so I get access to triple copies of OT Super Polys. But card's really great, helps break boards, and you guys all know this deck is this deck is all fusion, so Super Polys is really nice. And last but not least for your extenders is the 1 Monster Reborn Tirana for all the spell cards you're playing in this deck. For your traps, Screams of the Branded, same thing with Branded in White. If this card is in a graveyard because it was sent there to activate the effect of Fallen Albas's turn, you can set this card, which is really nice, and it's a Monster Reborn for fusion monsters, which is absolutely insane. So Screams of the Branded is just really good. Double copies of Dogmatica Punishment. You can easy search this card directly from your deck to your hand using Ecclesias, which is really good. It's essentially 2 interruptions built in one. Send Entis, pop 2 cards, like this card is ridiculous. And last but not least, the Shaddoll Schism to run off for your traps. Shaddoll Schism is like basically a game. Able to resolve this, you pretty much win. Winda just kills most decks in today's metagame, so Schism is just really nice in my personal opinion. Alright guys, off to your extra deck, of course, you're going to play Despian Proskinion and 2 copies of Despian Corydus right here. These cards are amazing. I kind of wish this card's effect was a little bit better, but nonetheless, it's a great floater. When it dies, it just brings out another one. directly from your deck, which is really, really good. But I feel like the effect to just nerf everything to 0 attack is pretty weak, but nonetheless, it's still a great floater, which is nice. Perskinion is really good. It's able to bring back any extra deck monster that your opponent has in the graveyard, or you can just banish it, which is really nice. So 2 copies Coriolis, and of course the 1 copy of Perskinion. Next off for your Fallen Albaz and your Dogmatica cards, of course, Titanic-clad, the Ash Dragon. You guys all know what these cards do. Like, they trigger off their effect during the end phase to search either Fallen Albaz or Dogmatica. You can either search or special summon them, which is really good. Titanic is really nice. Albion is really, really good. This card gets you access to Fusion Summon once it's Fusion Summon, and if it's sent to the graveyard, you can set 1 branded spell track card directly from your deck or add it to your hand, which is really good, right? And the 1 Brigand and the Glory Dragon. This card's also another amazing card. Cannot be destroyed by battle while this card is Fusion Summon. While you control this Fusion Summon card, your opponent cannot target other monster you control with the monster effects. And during the end phase, this card is sent to the graveyard because it was sent there this turn. You can add to your hand or special 1 Tri-Brigade or 1 Fallen Albaz directly from your deck. So essentially another copy of Titanic-clad, but for Fallen Albaz, which is really nice. So, you know, big dragons, Mud Dragon, and of course Starry Venom. These are for your Super Poly, which is really good. Next off, your one-ofs, of course the Entis. For punishment, you have Apkalone. For Schism, you have Winda. Summon this card and it's pretty much just absolutely game. And last but not least, first Dark Lords. This card is pretty interesting. I can't believe it's kind of easier to bring this card out in this deck instead of just using it in Dark Lords. Basically, during the main phase, you can pay 1,000 life points, special 1 fairy monster from your hand or graveyard, which is really great. So you can trigger off your Alibers or Dramaturge, bring those cards back, which is really good. And your opponent cannot target fairy monster control with card effects while this card's in the field. And it's a pretty big defensive type card while on the field, which is pretty nice. And it requires 3 Dark Fairies. If you open up literally all 3 of your DESPIA monsters, you can easily make this card right here. And last but not least, aside from Lord Omega, for your punishment, you have basically unlimited punishment with this card. And also at the same time, you can easily make this with the Gamma, which is amazing. So that's pretty much it for the main deck, guys. Let's go on with some of the combos you guys need with this deck. And to get a better understanding, I feel like it's best to demonstrate a test hand with this deck right here. So without further ado, let's get started with that real quick. Alright guys, so I'm going to showcase you guys a couple combos that this deck can do. And also at the same time, I feel like the best way to showcase this deck is to have a test hand and see how we'll play it out depending on the cards that we have in our hand, right? So I believe the most generic combos in this deck has to do with either opening up with Alibur or opening up with cards like Despian Tragedy, and also with Brandon Opening. Let's just jump straight into it. So first and foremost, what you're gonna do is that you can activate Brandon Opening. What this card does is that you can discard 1 card, then take 1 Despia monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon in defense position. Also, for the rest of this turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from your extra deck except for fusion monsters. If a fusion monster control will be destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. So what you're going to do is you're going to discard the Despian Tragedy to special summon your Alibur, the Jester of Despia, directly from the deck. This card will be chaining 2, gets you to add the level 8 Dramaturge of Despia directly from your deck to your hand. Alibur will now trigger to add your Despia Theater of the Branded from your deck to your hand. Now you're going to activate your Despia Theater right here. I'm going to use this as a field zone placement. You're going to activate this card's effect. This card allows you to fusion summon to fuse Alibur and also Dramaturge. Just fusion summon into your Despian Quiritus. Now what's going to happen, since Dramaturge was used as a fusion material, you get to activate this card's effect to special this card back from the graveyard, which is absolutely phenomenal. So this is like a mini combo that the deck is able to produce. I think this combo is actually pretty cool. So this doesn't look like the most scariest board, but you essentially have 2 interruptions right here. So basically Despias, they have an amazing grind game. All monsters float, and whenever they leave the field by your opponent's card or a card effect or by battle, you basically trigger off a bunch of effects. So what Quiritus reads is that it's a quick effect. You can basically change the attack of all monsters currently on the field to 0 except for level 8 or higher fusion monster. And Dramaturge of Despia has an amazing ability where it reads that if a fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link monster is special summon, except during the damage step, you can target 1 effect monster on the field and negate its effect until the end of this turn. So whenever your opponent were to Link summon or Xyz summon, Synchro, or Fusion summon, you can literally activate this card's effect to kind of like impermanence your opponent's monsters that's on the board, right? And this card is absolutely amazing. Whenever it dies, it floats into another Despia monster. Also at the same time, Alibur has an amazing ability as well, where it reads that while this card is in your graveyard, if a face-up fusion monster controls from a battle or leaves the field because of the opponent's card effect, you can target 1 effect monster your opponent controls, special summon this card back from your graveyard, and negate that target monster effect until the end of this turn. So whenever this card dies, not only does it float, but it's also able to trigger off your Alibur's effect to special summon itself from the graveyard to negate a monster effect on your opponent's side of the field. Also, at the same time, Theater also has an amazing ability where it reads that if face-up non-fusion fairy monster you control leaves the field by opponent's card effect or destroyed by a battle, you can try one level 8 or higher fusion monster in your graveyard and special summon it. Brand opening is also insane because you can banish this card from your graveyard to protect a fusion monster that will be destroyed by battle by card effect, which is absolutely insane. And Tragedy is really amazing as well because you can banish this card from your graveyard to just reset the Branded opening, right? So you can just have follow-ups on the following turn, which is absolutely phenomenal. So it's just like a mini floating setup that you have right here for Despias. The deck doesn't really have too many crazy negates or crazy unbreakable boards. What the deck is able to do best is to outgrind your opponent, right? And having a mini setup like this can just be really disruptive and annoying for your opponent to get rid of, right? So you have a bunch of follow-ups the following turn. All your monsters comes back if it dies, and you pretty much have a really good OTK setup the following turn. Mostly all 2-card combos will end on something like this, and that's why I feel like it's best if you want to showcase this deck in action, is to obviously duel with the deck, but also at the same time showcase you guys on the potential that the board can become and the extent of the board by showcasing you guys a test hand, right? So without further ado, let's go on with the test hand real quick. I want to demonstrate to you guys on what we can play out when it comes to drawing our 5-card opening hand. So without further ado, let's begin. Let's give this deck a really good shuffle. Hopefully we don't draw duplicates of cards. Oops. Let's just give this deck a really great shuffle to see on what cards we can potentially draw and how we can combo off with our first turn opening hand. Alright, first card, okay. Driver. Okay, this is not looking okay. Next card. Despian Tragedy. Okay. Let's see. Branded opening, okay, so we already seen these 2-card combos, so it's already a good start, even though we opened up with the driver. The Deer Servant, okay, this is a god hand, I think. And a Albion, the Shrouded Dragon. This hand is actually really, really good. Oh my goodness, this hand is insane. Okay, so how we play out this hand? So first and foremost, you guys already seen the combo that I just demonstrated. So we're going to go, of course, with Branded opening. We're going to discard the Despian Tragedy to the graveyard. Okay. I'm going to put the deck here and the graveyard there, so it's easier to navigate. Okay, we're obviously going to look through our deck right here. We're going to look for our Albion, our Aliber. Okay, so we're special in Aliber directly from the deck. Okay, cool. So now Chainlink activates, Chainlink 2 Tragedy, Chainlink 1 Aliber. Tragedy is going to search your Dramaturge, and Aliber is going to search your Theater directly from your deck to your hand. So we're going to add Theater. Okay, we're going to give this a really good shuffle. This is already a really good opening. Okay, let me see. Obviously going to activate, of course, our Despia Theater of the Branded. At this point, since we already have the driver that's in our hand, we can actually get rid of this card. So what we can do is that we can actually activate Theater's effect to fusion summon using Aliber, Dramaturge, and also the driver. Right here, we can actually use these 3. Okay, so we're going to activate Theater, use these 3, okay, to fusion summon into, of course, the Despian Proskenion right here. This card is absolutely amazing. So what it does is that during the main phase, quick effect, you can target 1 fusion, Synchro Xyz, or Link monster your opponent's graveyard, banish it, or special summon it to your side of the field, which is really good. So you get a free body on the board. You know, like you can keep the driver in your hand and go into the Corratus if you guys want, but I feel like this is just a little bit better, and it's you know, just a stronger monster. Overall, if you guys want a disruption with the attack manipulation, you can just bring Corratus instead of Proskenion, but for this case with the hand that we have, I prefer to bring out Proskenion at this point. So Proskenion comes out. Now Dramaturge will activate its effect since it was sent to the graveyard from my hand or field as fusion material, especially this card from the grave. If you want to bring this card out, you can. And this card obviously floats a little bit better than this, but I feel like if you're able to disrupt your opponent and their extra deck monster in the grave, you get a free body on the board, which is absolutely incredible, right? So Proskenion is really nice. Now what you're going to do is very simple. You're going to activate your Nadir Servant. You can send the first of the Dark Lord to the graveyard. It doesn't matter what you send. You know, it just needs to be like just a random graveyard fodder for Maximus. So you send first a Dark Lord, to obviously add the best card in your deck, which is Dogmatica Ecclesia right here, which is really good. And now what's going to happen next is that you're going to special summon Ecclesia. Activate Ecclesia's effect. When she special summons, you get to search a Dogmatica monster directly from your deck to hand, which is the Maximus. Hopefully you're not playing against Drytron, because if you are, you're gonna get punished with Maximus. But hey, it is what it is. But you bring out Winda, so Winda like instant game against most deck anyways, right? So, and Maximus is just really great. So you bring out, you search Maximus off Ecclesia, and now you're gonna summon Maximus, banishing first the Dark Lords or any other extra monster sent to the graveyard off the Dear Servant, especially Maximus right here. Now you want to activate Maximus' effect. You are going to send, of course, Apcolone and the Titaniclide to the graveyard right here to trigger off Maximus' effect. Now Apcolone is going to trigger. You are going to activate its effect to search the Shaddoll Schism from your deck to your hand. And you're going to discard the Albion, the Shrouded Dragon, to the graveyard. This card is treated as Fallen Albaz in the field or the graveyard, which is absolutely incredible. Now this is your hand. You have a fully loaded graveyard which floats, which is insane. And now you can use it. You want to activate Albion's effect. What this card does is really simple. This card names becomes Fallen Albaz while in the field or in the graveyard. If this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can send one Fallen Albaz or branded spell and trap card from your hand or deck to the graveyard, applying the following effect. So if you're sending a Fallen Albaz cards or a branded card from your hand to the graveyard, you basically get a special summon this card. If you're sending it directly from the deck, you basically get to place this card on the bottom of the deck. When I activate Albion's effect, okay, that's in your graveyard right now, you can send either one of these. You can send, of course, Screams of the Branded, or you can even send right here my favorite, which is of course the Branded in White to the graveyard. For this instance, I'm going to send Branded in White to the grave. You are going to put Albion to the bottom of your deck. Give me a second. You're going to put Albion to the bottom of your deck right here. During the end phase, your effects are going to trigger, so you have Titaniclide, the Dragon, and also Branded in White. Branded in White will trigger its effect to set itself, which is really nice. And the reason why you can reset itself is because this card has means ability during the end phase. If this card is sent to the graveyard because it was there to activate the effect of Fallen Albaz, which is Albion, is considered as a Fallen Albaz while on the field or in the graveyard. So it's Fallen Albaz. You basically get to set this card, which is amazing. And Titaniclad will trigger off its effect to search, of course, your Fleur de Lis directly from your deck to your hand, right? So this will be your end board with Fleur de Lis, the Knighted, that's in your hand, which you get to search off the Titaniclad, the Ash Dragon. And this is a pretty good, pretty nasty board, in my opinion, with the cards that we have in our hand. For this instance, we can also have like Psyframe Driver that's already in our hand to have like 3 cards, but like, you know, that's if you want to summon the Corardis instead of the Proskinion. For this, you have 1 interruption, 2 interruption, 3 interruption with Fleur de Lis. You also have potentially 4 interruptions with Oliver and 5 interruptions with Proskinion right here. And Schism is insane because you get to activate Schism, you get to banish, of course, Apcolone and Titaniclad right here. Okay, on the following turn, get access into Winda, which is really good. And against most decks, I don't think your opponent's going to be able to out Winda right here, right? And Winda is just insane. In the following turn, you just switch everything to attack and just, you know, just aggressively push your opponent, right? You also have Branded in White as well, which is also another absolutely insane card. So yeah, that's pretty much it for our crazy board on the following turn. And like I said, this deck is ridiculous. I feel like the grind game that this deck has is absolutely incredible with this new support coming out of Burst of Destiny. I'm definitely going to do an update on this deck. I like the way this deck functions and the way that it's able to work really well with dogmatic monsters, and the fact that you still get access to Winda and things like that is absolutely incredible. So let me know your thoughts about this deck in the comment section below. I think this deck is super fun to play. I don't think this deck is like meta defined or like, you know, it's gonna break the meta. It's just missing like 1 or 2 cards on top of the Burst of Destiny for the deck to be like destructive, right? So, you know, that's a test hand that we're able to demonstrate today. So that's pretty much it. Let me know your thoughts about this deck in the comments below. And yeah, this is your boy Sam from Team Degenerate Sam signing out. Alright guys, peace.